Now for part 2, this is going to be a bit more complicated to explain to you. You've made your first cut. If we're going off the last video I've just watched, you'll have made your first cut. That's the important one. But there's still another important part you've got to do before it becomes more easier. With cutting these logs into beams, the first and second cuts are the hardest ones. And I think this part is actually slightly more harder than the first part. Okay, what do you do then? Well, before you, assuming everything's gone according to plan, will be the log that you've just took the first cut off. You've removed the scab, and now what you need to do is you need to rotate the beam 90 degrees to a perfect horizontal vertical alignment. Now, what do I mean by that? You basically remove the dog that's been pinning it in place, and you want to basically roll it towards you, rotate it towards you. In the effect, if it's a very heavy log, you may need to use a lifting device or a lever hoist or come along to help turn the log. And for that, that's a separate concept as well. I'm not going to go into that, but if it's not too big, you should be able to rotate it on your own. And then, when you rotate it, you want to re-dog it so it's at a 90-degree angle. This is where the spirit level comes in handy. So, the best way to do it, that my friend taught me, is it's easier to rotate it a little bit too far around towards you, and then push it against the clamp. There's you can get little clamps that go in on one side to help pin it to the dog on the other side. And then what you do is, with it slightly over-rotated, you put the spirit level on, as the picture shows, and you gently rotate it back and bump it to an alignment that is horizontal, and the bubble should be in the center. Now, that is easier said than done, but with experience, you get better and better at it. And the more you can get that bubble in the center, the more your beam will be at perfectly 90 degrees. Right angled to one another. If you get it off slightly, you'll end up with a beam that's ever so slightly wider on one end than the other, which isn't too bad if you go in for just if it's just going to be a height beam. If it's going to be like a perfect slot carpentry, that's when you really need a perfect 90 degree angle. So this is difficult, but it's not hard once you get used to it. And if it's heavier, it is a bit more challenging. So once you've done this, you re-dog the actual beam so that you basically have the flat part of the beam facing you, if you will, while you're working on it. And the next cut will basically be your top cut, and then you'll have your 90 degree angles. Now that's one hell of a mouthful I've just told you, but I'm going to be having pictures and explanations coming up to help guide you through the process. I should also add that you'll be cutting the beam when it's in this position as well. Once you've done all that messing around, that's the position it's going to be cutting. So it's not going to, you don't rotate it all the way so the flat end is on the bottom. You might think that some newbies using a sawman might think, oh, I'm just going to rotate it all the way to get like a flat profile on the bottom. No, you leave that flat profile so it's at the horizontal and at 90 degree angles. As much as it may be tempting to do that. Alright, for your third cut, all you need to do is make sure that obviously you've re-dogged it and it's not going to be moving, because now the beam's getting a little bit lighter, it's going to be more likely to wobble if you don't dog it down properly. Also, this is going to be, you're going to be going for more of a measurement cut now. This is going to be one of your sizes that you're going to try and make. If it's going to be just the top and the bottom size that you need, to say like a 2B8 or a 4B8 or a 4B4, then this isn't too critical. You can just make it as wide as you want for strength. But if not, then just make sure you get your measurements done. To make it accurate, you may want to mark the actual saw blade going against the actual wood, or just make a tiny cut, back it off, and then make a measurement and confirm that's going to be the thickness that you want for the cut. And then it's just a case of starting up the machine and making cut number 3. Now for making your final cut, you want to be careful you don't hit the handle with the saw blade. And this is easy to do on your final cut because you tend to be making a lower cut with the blade than on cuts 1, 2 and to an extent cut 3. So on cut 4 always be doubly sure about your handle of the mechanism that secures the beam. Okay folks, and that is how you make a beam with an Alaskan sawmill. It takes a while, but it's worth it, and it costs a lot less than paying extra money at the local sawmill or down at Lowe's or Home Depot. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.